It's another week of the Three Fever Point After podcast. We thank you for hanging out with us here. I'm Alex Anderson, joined as always by Bossier offensive coordinator, the head of Gunslinger Quarterback Academy, Jeff Harper. And Coach, looking good today, man.
Yes. You won the bet.
Yep.
But I will say this, it's a much easier game to watch when you see how much better the Saints were than the Cowboys. It wasn't even a game.
That was, I think it was a little shocking for everyone. I think the Saints play through 2 weeks, you take into the effect that it's Carolina week one, but then a Dallas team that many expected to be good, it was kind of the same game for the Saints.
Yeah, well, I really liked the game plan that the Saints had offensively. They ran Dallas just from sideline to sideline and took deep shots. And
right.
They didn't go into that game, guarded at all or conservative. They were very aggressive, and they got Kamara the ball. They got their best players the ball in space. Yeah. Shahid's a stud.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Saints defense, I mean, what more can you say? I
right.
mean, Dallas could not run the ball, which we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Off camera, we've talked about Dallas's running issues, but Dallas's defense is supposed to be pretty good, and they had no answer.
No.
And so congratulations to the Saints fans
yeah.
out there. That's also why I like the Green Bay Packers too, because Dallas has been good at one thing, it's breaking your heart.
Yeah.
So, Saints, y'all definitely took that one, deserved it.
And I think from a coach's perspective, I think it's got to be cool to see how much of an impact one change can make with Klint Kubiak in New Orleans. I mean, again, it's only been 2 weeks, but it's a different offense with a lot of the same names on the field. Yeah,
well, he did a good job of mixing up play calls, and he would run the similar schemes, but he would dress it up differently. And Dallas, Dallas knew what Kubiak wanted to do because Zimmer and Kubiak worked together at Minnesota. Zimmer had no answer. In fact, there was a shot before halftime of Zimmer just standing on the sidelines, and he just had this look on his face like, I have no idea what I'm doing, how to stop this, and it's going to be because it's not even halftime yet,
right.
and they're already getting blown out. So
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes. They could stay healthy and then keep this going. Watch out for the Saints in the NFC.
Yeah, it's exciting, I think, for football fans in Louisiana to have at least some hope when it comes to the Saints. It hasn't been that way really since Dennis Allen or really since Drew Brees retired, to be honest. So that's exciting. But, hey, we are here to talk about high school football, and we were right about Huntington just maybe a week early.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about it. You cannot judge week one on the road at West Monroe.
Right.
Regardless of the outcome. When you play a team like that, there's so many variables that go into it. So they come back and they play the defending district champs.
Yep.
Now I get it. It's not the same roster. It's not the same coaching staff. That's irrelevant.
Yep.
They're good. They've got a lot of talent. So, for them to show up and hang 40 on them is very impressive. And I'm sure Shreve can go back and find 4 or 5 plays that change the ball game for them. And that's how 1-5A goes. It's really how any of your games go,
right.
regardless of classification. But when you have a team that's entering 1-5A, they want to make a statement, and they did. So, congratulations to the Raiders. Huge win. And
Coach Dennis, obviously one of a kind after the game, so fired up. But Daniel was at that game, and it was the formula that we talked about with Huntington running the football. They were throwing 2 quarterbacks in. It didn't matter when they're just handing it off to those stud running backs they have.
Well, and their running backs were punishing anybody
right.
that tried to tackle them. I don't know if you watched some of the slow-mo video that was out there after the game. It's like unbelievably physical. And listen, I told you, they were huge up front, right? And football is won in the trenches. Now, being a quarterback guy, I love big, physical offensive linemen. When you look and they trot out 10 different offensive linemen in the fall scrimmage, that to me, that's like, okay. Then you look at the defensive linemen and they're trotting 4 or 5 different guys out there that are not on the offensive line. Was really impressive.
Right.
And they play with low pads. They're physical. They fire off the ball. It's old school football as far as just when you watch the tape. They're not lining up in old school formations. I'm just saying they're not sitting back. They're coming after you, and they're nasty, and they're physical, and they're tough, hard-nosed coaching, and it showed up in that ball game.
Yeah, and now when you look at the landscape of 1-5A as a whole, it's hard to zero in on that favorite. You think Airline, Bird, Parkway, Huntington, Evangel. We're going to see a lot of them play each other this week. Bird and Evangel this week, big time game. I think that's the game we're going to learn which one of these two has a strong chance of winning this thing.
If Bird can stop the pass game, they can win that game.
Right.
And Evangel's going to sling it around the yard. I will say this: Bird has opened up their offense a little bit.
Yeah.
They've added some wrinkles to their scheme. And Harrison Ayers looked great last week. I think he had 2 touchdown passes and a touchdown run. And so, Bird is just going to be a different monster this year because they have added some layers to their run scheme to where now they've got some play action and some boots and stuff, which they always have, but now they feel confident in calling it. And you turn that tape on, you see they look really good doing it. So Bird is a matchup problem for everybody.
Yep.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm buddies with Baloo, and I'm just telling you they are a matchup problem. You don't see that type of offense week to week in that type of blocking scheme, and they're great at it, and it fits their personnel. And then Evangel is Evangel, so they've reloaded and they've got talent and they're well coached, and that's the game I really want to see the score this week. What it's going to look like. It's
going to be interesting, and I was at Bird Houghton last week, and hard for me to kind of gauge Bird's offense because the portion I was there, 2 quick turnovers for Houghton, and Bird scored right away on the short field. But from what I witnessed when I was there, you mentioned that word confidence with this team, and it's something they lacked last year. A lot of young guys seemed kind of like the old Bird that we're used to in Lee Hedges for last Friday night. Whether it was in the stands or on the field, I think they're a confident bunch, and I think they're a little angry at the way last year went.
Yeah, well, they go on the road week 1 and they win.
Right.
I think by 3 scores. So that's impressive.
Yep.
And you're doing that with the unit that you have. And I know there was some turnover. They lost some guys. But, that was a big win for them week 1. Then week 2, a dominant win in a district matchup. So if they come out and they play like that against Evangel, watch out.
2 other matchups in this league that I want to talk about today are obviously Parkway Houghton. The hat bet rolls on for me. Interesting game in the sense that Parkway has looked really good through 2 games. Houghton, they get past Homer. They were missing some guys, and then obviously Bird did not go their way. I think the common belief is that I'm going to be back in the Parkway hat this year. But hey, it's Friday night. Anything can happen.
You're right, and you don't really know how good Parkway is going to be, but you can go back to the Jamboree and they beat Airline. Right. All right, so we know that they're good, and we know that they can make the plays on both sides of the ball. I don't know what Houghton's got as far as firepower.
Yeah.
But if they can't keep up in the scoring, and Parkway's going to try to score early often, and with Brotherton and Sewell being best friends, I can tell you, I don't expect there to be any gentleman agreement on what the scoreboard looks like.
Right.
That's going to be fun just to see how that thing plays out. But I do think that Parkway right now has shown more on the field than Houghton has. Houghton did have a 48 point score in week 1. And then ran into a buzzsaw this past week with Bird. So you can't turn the ball over against anybody and win.
Yeah, especially that early, first 2 drives.
They cut that down. I think that they can be in that ball game. And Parkway Houghton, regardless, is always competitive.
And you add the layer of it being the new turf field, the Houghton Hall of Fame. Houghton is going to be emotional when this game kicks off.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's always. Regardless of what records are. And it used to be the Week 10 matchup. Now with the reclass and rescheduling, it fell earlier. But, that Week 10 matchup, it was always a war.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And it's a special moment that, you can have Coy there as well for the opening of the field and everything. So we're very excited for that, and we're looking forward to it. And who knows? We'll see which hat I'll be wearing. But I will say that it's totally unrelated. But at the Mudbugs game last Saturday, I had the black and red Sabres jersey on, the red and black Jordans, and I tell you that Parkway hat looked really good. We were looking all right. So who knows? Maybe we can continue that, or maybe not. Who knows? But the other matchup is Airline again, and. They have Union Parish coming to town, a team that we saw play Calvary in the Jamboree, a team that has won a state championship. A good test for the Vikings out of district.
There's no doubt. And Union Parish has got, a really good run game. They're going to come in. They're going to get in 2 tight ends, and they're going to get in the eye, and they're going to pound the ball, and they're going to play solid defense. They're going to be very aggressive. They're coming off of a tough one last week, and so they're going to want to right the ship on that. And of course, Airline wants to kind of keep it rolling. The last 2 weeks they've been really good. So that will be a war, but last year it was like that.
Yep.
It came down to a special teams mistake, and that was the difference in Union Parish, winning that ball game.
Right. Another one, another game that we certainly have circled on the schedule this week. We mentioned Bird and Evangel, Natchitoches Central at Shreve, but now we go to 1-4A, and things have changed in that district with the news about Cole Corey.
Yeah.
He has a knee injury for North DeSoto. He's going to miss a lot of time. We're not sure yet if it's going to be the whole season or not, but we saw that play happen in our highlight. It was that final pick that Luke threw. Corey went down. He was holding the knee. On a Friday night, no chance I'm speculating on that, right? When you see it happen live, I don't want to say anything. But now we do have some clarity thanks to Roy Lang with The Advocate. Not great news for the Griffins. Meanwhile, you look over at Northwood, and they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I hate that for Cole Corey. He's a great kid. I got to meet him this year at the FCA golf tournament. He was working one of the holes. It just came up and introduced himself, was just super kind and very professional. And, watching him play the last few years, he's dynamic on the field. And so, and I have a soft spot for the receivers just because my kid was one, and he battled 2 injuries his senior year, and it just – it's devastating. But he's a kid that's got a great head on his shoulders, been raised right. He knows his identity. He's not wrapped up in what sport he's playing. And he'll make the best of it. And so hopefully it's not as bad as they think and he recovers quickly. But yes, Northwood is looking really good. And Northwood, North DeSoto is always a matchup that people want to see. Lot of bad blood, a lot of trash talking. They made that fun.
And we still have a while for that.
They've made that really fun, and so there's this. Northwood is going to seize their opportunities, regardless of what it is. And I think that they see this as well. Hey, they're not as strong. North DeSoto's not as strong without their best receiver. So, they want to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, and of course, as fans of high school football, as we both are, you hate to see it happen to any player, especially a guy that has made so many plays for us. I mean, I think we've done 3 shows thus far. He's been in the top 5 2 times. I mean, that's just what he does. So we really hope he gets better. And obviously, he's not going to be there this week, and they got West Monroe coming to town. Yeah,
well, Cole Corey's elite. I mean, we're not talking about just an average kid. He's an elite football player. He reminds me a lot of Christian McWilliams when he played at Halton.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very similar. And so, I think that anytime you lose a player like that, it's tough. But yes, they got a tough one. They got a very tough task. But if anybody's up to it, it's definitely North DeSoto.
And Northwood welcomes Mansfield to town. Mansfield, we've seen them. They've had they had a close game with Minden to start the year. Should be an interesting matchup for the fans.
Yeah, don't sleep on the Wolverines. They're good. I've seen some film on them. They're good. They're big up front. They had a 1-point loss last week to a really good Minden team. So, I think that. And remember last year, I believe it was last year. They were on the road. I can't remember who they put. May have been Sterlington. Somebody. They were on the road, and it was like a last-second loss on the road, but they were winning the ball game late in the 4th quarter. So, Coach Barbay's done a great job there, and he's got a lot of really good players, and he's got a unique scheme that he runs, and they're really big up front. And they're physical and they're disciplined, and so that definitely is going to be a good game.
Yeah, and you mentioned you guys, Bossier getting a win. You have our Griffins Player of the Week in Quan Scott, so we're excited about that. Interesting game with Logansport coming to town. I saw Logansport at Loyola last week, and they were just struggling to get the offense going. Yeah,
it didn't look like a Kevin McGee offense. Right. I don't know if they were missing personnel or, maybe they were riddled with penalties. I know that, I talked to Bryce Verstovich's dad, Brock, and he was telling me they had 4 touchdowns called back.
Yeah, and there was one of them that Coach Sella showed us on the iPad. Yeah. It was a throwback.
Double pass.
The refs couldn't have got it more wrong. I mean, the guy was a good 1.5 yards back. It was just, I don't know how they.
It was that type of night, and that cuts both ways.
Right.
So if you have an offense that's struggling a little bit to get the ball going, and the thing was they had such a dominant win week 1 with Manny, dominant, and they were on the road. Then they go on the road again, and they they get started slowly. I mean, they've got this personnel, they've got the talent. Keaton Kaysen can spin it. The Bland kid is legit, defensive end and running back. So they've got talent, big guys. Knowing Coach McGee and knowing how well he's going to have his guys prepared. They will have figured that out. They'll have flushed it, and they'll be ready to go Friday night. So, and I'm tell you, Loyola's a team you need to watch out for. Yeah. Just after watching them the last 2 weeks, Coach Sella's got them playing really well.
I tell you one thing about Loyola. We were looking through. Me and Sydney were actually looking. They gave us one of their programs. We were just kind of flipping through it last night. They're like an all-name team. Mm-hmm. They've got some last names on that roster.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of guys you see. You're like, oh, if he makes a play tonight, I'm in trouble trying to say this. There was one. I'm not even going to attempt to say it, but
there's some doctors.
Yes, that's
kids on the team.
They're going to put us to the test when it comes to the last name. So we're loving that. I'm going to get my little list here because look, I can't remember all these games. There's a lot of them. But we mentioned you guys. I do want to talk about Minden though. Going to North Webster. I think Minden's a team slept on a little bit in this league.
Yeah, they are. The thing is, you've got two really big names in 1-4A, right? And they kind of hog the talk. Minden's one of those that just kind of creeps under the radar, and it's a team you can't sleep on because they've got a ton of talent, and they're going to be coached well. It's just a matter of time before they put it all together, and I think that they're close. Watching them on film, they run the ball well. They've got a lot of good athletes around. Their quarterback's legit, and they play good defense. So I think the thing that people need to realize is Minden is always going to put a product on the field that's going to be competitive. It's just a matter of time before, boom, and they catch fire and they're dominant. And you turn around and you look at North Webster, new scheme, new head coach, Coach Wilson. He goes to North Caddo and pulls off a big win. And so you just never know, man. Week to week, it's why they put the ball down, blow the whistle, let's play ball. So that one will be interesting to see how it goes because there's familiarity there. The kids know each other, and you know how it is in parish rivalries. They're going to get after it.
Man, and another team in this league that I did want to talk briefly on was Southwood. The losing streak goes to 38 at home last week against Arcadia, a game that I was at, and that was a tough watch. I mean, they came out quick, big pass for a score. And then it just fell apart from there. They just seemed to kind of get in their own way multiple times in that game. 14-7 at half. It ends 14-7. They have North Caddo, another Thursday night game for them. What does Southwood need to do to break this streak? I mean, it's got to be just so tough on those kids.
Well, let me say this. I think if anybody could go in and right the ship, it's Coach Green.
Absolutely.
All right. And what he did when he went to Mansfield, I mean, they turned them into a dominant team in their district. They were in the playoffs, I think, 7 straight years. So, I think that a lot of it is we're talking about it, right?
Right.
There's this pressure that's building on the players every week in their games that people are telling them they should win. And that's not lost on them. They know it, they feel it, they internalize it, and then what happens is when the game is close, everybody's trying to go out and make that play, and sometimes it just doesn't happen. I will say this, they had a similar streak in 2019 when I was at Parkway, and we were missing players. When we went and played that ball game, we had guys that were no longer on the roster, and we had a QB that couldn't play that week, and it was tough because we went out there, played well, and we made one mistake on a tip ball, and they took it to the house, and then they started believing they could win.
Right.
And that power of belief and confidence, it's contagious. And they shocked us. They beat us. That was, I think, their last win.
Right.
So I'm pulling for them, man. I mean, I watched. Coach Wilson had it on Facebook Live, and he was giving us great commentary. I love listening to him talk, man. He just, Did
you hear him ask me for a Southern Classic chicken shirt in the stream? Because he did.
I think I did.
We're working on it, Coach.
But he kept pointing out, he's wanting it for him too. He's wanting it for him too. And they had a chance.
They did.
They had a chance. Had the ball on the hash. Called the timeout. Stop the clock. They were about to put one in the end zone right there, and then it was an unfortunate mistake, and they turn the ball over. But I'm hoping that they can pull it out. This is going to be something they're going to have to deal with, until they get that monkey off their back, and then it's not going away.
Right.
Because then people are going to expect them to win more and more, and so. I'm hoping the Cowboys can get it going. Yeah,
and it's tough when you're there on the sideline and you're hearing them talk and you hear them. They're trying to spread that belief, and you just root for them. It's hard not to root for them.
Well, we played them last year for homecoming at Natchitoches Central, and they were big, physical, fast, well coached, and they didn't quit. Right. And we told Coach Green after the ball game. I remember Jess telling him, like, man, your kids never let up, not one bit. I mean, I think they scored 28 to 30 points on us, and so they were in it the whole game and never once backed down. And so he's going to turn it around. They're going to get it going.
Absolutely. Well, we certainly hope it's sooner rather than later.
Just not when we play them.
Yeah, fair enough. We weren't talking about that. So we're week to week here, Coach. Yeah. Look, we got some. I kind of buried the lead here. We got some big games this week. Starting with our game of the week, easy pick. Claiborne Parish Super Bowl. It's Homer. It's Haynesville.
Golly.
I mean, this early in the year to get this thing going.
Yeah.
I mean, what a night we're going to have over there in Haynesville.
Yeah, and it's hard to pick that one.
It is.
You look at the score from Halton, and I mean they were in it. They should have won it.
Right.
46 points. So, and then you look at Haynesville, and you're like, man, they're back. They're
Yeah.
good. So, I don't really have a pick on that one, to be honest with you. I think that those two teams, you got only 2 games to really look at.
Right.
But it's going to be super competitive and a lot of fireworks in that one.
I mean, how perfect is the I think this is the first time we've ever seen a full hour of Friday Football Fever on Channel 3. Perfect game of the week for that.
There's no
Claiborne Parish
doubt.
Super Bowl. That's we were very happy.
Isn't it the oldest rivalry in
It is.
Louisiana?
It is over 100
high
years
school?
old, and
Yeah.
it is passionate no matter
Yeah.
if the teams are competing for state titles or if they're having down years. That is the one game they want to win. Similar to, it's like North DeSoto and Northwood.
Oh, yeah.
In a sense, in the terms of success in a season, definitely hinges, at least in part, on beating that team. So,
Yeah, it'll be a fun one.
yeah, for sure. And another one, very interesting matchup, a battle on the border-esque matchup. Ruston at Longview. I mean, that's a heck of a game there.
Yeah, I haven't looked at any Texas scores,
Right.
but Ruston is Ruston.
It's just the
And
reputation of both of them alone. You don't
you
even
have
need
similar. You have similar styles of play too.
Right.
I mean, Longview will line up and pound you out of the eye and different under center sets, and so they're going to be well coached, and Ruston's going to come in ready to go, and so that's going to be a war. I expect that one to be a close game.
And we didn't talk about Calvary yet. They go down to Neville. Man, what a game that was. It was back and forth. Calvary scored late. Neville took the lead, and Calvary couldn't do it there on that 4th down. Abram was sacked. I mean, the stats for Abram right now are unreal. 13 touchdown passes in 2 games. Colby Thomas and Simon, they're all doing it.
Yeah.
It just didn't go their way against one of the best teams in the state.
Well, Calvary is not running from competition.
Right.
If they were worried about remaining perfect on the season, they wouldn't have added.
They wouldn't have even played a game, right?
They wouldn't have played that game. They would have just taken the 9-game season, but that's not Coach Guin and his staff. And so, they're testing themselves because their end goal is they want to win the last game.
Right.
They want to win the last game that's on the schedule for the year, and that's in the Dome.
Yep.
And so I think that that's a good matchup. I think it's something that they can learn from. The coaches can go back and show them areas they've got to improve. Abram is putting up crazy numbers, but here's the deal. And I said it our very first podcast. Abram was pulled from the majority of the games that he played
Right.
in the 3rd quarter last year. And he still threw for 3,883 yards in 40 touchdowns. So we're talking about 40-plus touchdowns. So we're talking about a kid that did that, and he played in half the games. Right? So now you look at their schedule this year, and
That's not happening.
you're not getting pulled from those games.
Right.
And so now you're seeing those video game NCAA 25
Well, I
type,
wish I'd throw 30 picks.
yeah, it's like, well, that's the worst part of the game. Never mind, don't get me
geez
started.
Louise.
Don't get me started. I mean, I get so mad. But I will say this, with Abram, he's having to stay in there all 4 quarters. And it's not because the defense isn't getting it done. They're playing better teams. And Oak Grove is his defending state champ. Then you bring Neville in. They had Westgate. Westgate couldn't play. Neville comes in. Neville's legit. So, and they're really good on defense. And their head coach is a defensive guy. So, very good football team. And I don't think that that's going to change week to week. To be honest with you, I think you're going to see Abram and Colby and Caleb Tucker, one of their other really good receivers, and Julius Moss, who they'll play on offense, who's also really good on defense, and of course Simon. They've got a lot of talent, and Abram is as good. I had a coach call me this week, said he watched the one of the Tyler Hassel. He's the defensive line coach and offensive line coach at Red River. We coached together at Natchitoches Central. They're playing him. He's at Red River. They're playing Oak Grove this week. He just said, and I quote, "I watched the film. Abram Wardell did not make one bad decision in 4 quarters." That's saying something from a defensive coach who's won 4 state championships.
Absolutely.
So, I know that it's not the outcome they wanted, but it's only going to make them better.
Yeah, and they're on the road at Franklin Parish this week, so another good test for them.
Sure. And I think that they will do everything they can to put that out of their mind and hang half 100 on them if they can, and they probably will.
Now, I'll tell you this, we talk all the time, but one of my favorite interactions with you was over the summer. I was struggling on College Football 25, and I texted Coach and was like, man, I'm going to need some help reading the defense. I'm throwing picks left and right. And you text back and said, I'm in the same boat. I can't stop either, man. It's
I had to quit playing. It was making me so mad. I was like, I don't want to throw these remotes in my house. I mean, I'm almost 45. I don't need to be acting like I'm 17 again.
Well, if you ever want to be entertained, listen to my dad play College Football 25. Oh my goodness, he started a quarterback and went to Tech, and they booed him out of the stadium a couple times. It's been a rough go for Dave Anderson there for the Bulldogs. So we're going to clean that up. Coach, I think we've covered a lot. We're hitting that 30-minute mark now. Any closing message for our viewers tonight? Again, I do want to keep mentioning it because it's tough for people to change habits. The show is on KTBS this week, so Channel 3 is where we'll have the full hour. I don't know if the guide will be updated to reflect that on like DirecTV or Comcast. Sometimes it's iffy with that. So I know a lot of our fans like to record the show because they're out in the stadium to go out to eat after. KTBS is where you're going to want it. 10:30 to 11:35 will be the full show. With that in mind, anything for our viewers that are going to go out and catch a football game, anything they should watch for this week or anything like that?
I think you can't go wrong just going and supporting local high school football.
Right.
I think you need, if you're going to go watch a game, support those programs. It's great for the kids to turn around and see people in the stands to watch them. And I think that's lost on a lot of people because now we're even kind of spoiled. We have NFHS. So, a lot of people could sit at home and watch football games, from their couch. And I enjoy that. I'm not going to lie. There's times that I can't get out, so it's a tool for me. But I like going into the games, and the more that people will go, the more the kids enjoy it, and it's good for them to turn around and look and see people in the stands. So,
and it is great to have that option. I mean, we use it, we pull highlights from it from time to time, but there is nothing can beat being there in a high school stadium, especially this part of the country. It's just so unique.
Yep, it is, and the kids, they give you everything they got. So, a lot of good games this weekend, and for all you Saints fans. Especially people that I'm friends with. Here's your proof. I kept my end of the deal. I lost the bet. So, who dat?
A lot of touchdowns in that jersey.
Man, hey, look, you gave me a good one.
Yeah.
The guy went off.
It was.
I was hoping you didn't give me some, bums jerseys.
No, we don't have any.
This one's nice.
And I need to get me a Taysom Hill jersey. That's the one Saints jersey I don't have
you need to get that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, Coach Harper, you're the man. Again, KTBS for the full fever this week. This week only, we got some college football on KPXJ. So be sure to make that note in your viewing schedule this Friday, and we'll see you then.